What is going on, Dodger fans? Happy June 10th to you. It's not a good night if you're a Dodgers fan. The Los Angeles Dodgers are on the verge of getting blown out by the San Diego Padres and will fall to 40-28 in the young 2025 season. They are now just a half game ahead of the San Francisco Giants, of all teams, for first place in the National League West. The San Diego Padres will be a game out as well, as this is a tight three-way race between these three teams in the NL West. We've got some interesting stuff to talk about, including a pretty lousy punted game by the Dodgers in this one with Matt Sauer taking the bulk of the innings. I'm joined by Chris Camello, friend of the show, who is replacing in for Jake Reiner, who couldn't make it this evening. Excited to have Chris, though. There was a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Chris, where do you want to kick off the show tonight?
Man, it would be nice to do it on a positive note. So shout out to the Dodgers for a gut check extra innings win yesterday. And you know what? Shout out to Matt Sauer, even though his performance was definitely sour, for winning the Brent Honeywell Award for wearing it. So shout out to Sauer for protecting the bullpen tonight.
Obviously, that was kind of the intent here with Matt Sauer. It's a little frustrating that the Dodgers had to rely on, let's be real, a scrub pitcher in a meaningful NLS game where you could look back on this game, end of the season. Hopefully it's not the case where this will make the difference in the NLS standings, but Matt Sauer now has a 5.68 ERA. He was just dreadful against the Padres tonight. We'll get into the box score in a little bit. The Dodgers offense didn't really show up as well. It's kind of been the theme of the last few games. You go back to the series, those first two games in particular at St. Louis, they really struggled with runners in scoring position, and there was no offense. And tonight, the Dodgers offense was once again flat. Credit to Dylan Cease. He absolutely showed up and shoved tonight. The Dodgers just had no answer for Cease, as it's currently an 11-1 game. This game is almost final. Dylan Cease went 7 innings, had 11 strikeouts, kept the Dodgers off balance all night. Meanwhile, on the flip side, Matt Sauer went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 13 hits. No Dodgers pitcher has given up 13 hits in a game this season until Matt Sauer. I mean, 13 hits in 4 2/3 innings. That's dreadful. 9 earned runs, and he had 3 walks as well. The Padres were just all over us tonight. A complete mismatch.
For sure. I mean, look, it started off, and I was just literally telling you this offline, but I think it's important for the listeners to know. I remember Bill Plunkett posted the pitching matchups for this series. On the Padres side, it was going to be Pivetta, Cease, and I think tomorrow it's Vasquez, right? Randy Vasquez, I believe. Yeah. On the Dodger side, which is, by the way, they're 3 top pitchers this season. On the Dodger side, Dustin May, who'd been pitching pretty well, TBA, to be announced, so we knew this was going to be a bullpen game, and then Justin Robleski for the potential rubber match tomorrow. I mean, you're seeing the best 3. They're seeing a pretty good borderline average pitcher, and the rest of it, farmhands. So, I mean, you had to temper your expectations for this series because you're not seeing the best of the best. They're not seeing Yamamoto. They're not even seeing Kershaw, and obviously they're not seeing Sasaki or Glasnow or Snell or any of the guys that we expected to be out there at this juncture of the season. So you had to temper your expectations. The fact, Kevin, you mentioned this, that they even got 1 game, I think is even, that's big in and of itself. I mean, the Dodgers are at this moment, they just have to tread water. The good news is some of the pitchers are slowly but surely coming back. It looks like everyone's headed in the right direction. Knock on wood, there's been no setbacks. But in games like this, in this stretch of the season, and in this stretch of the schedule with where they're at right now, you just have to kind of throw whoever's healthy out there and hope for the best. The other problem is, how many games are you going to win, especially these bullpen games, Kev, where your offense does not come through? These bullpen games work when your offense spots the Sauers, the Robleskis, Knack, Bobby Miller, early offense, so that way these guys could have a margin for error. If it's a scoreless game, it's only a matter of time before a good team like the Padres will get to Sauer, and that's exactly what happened tonight.
Yeah, Teoscar Hernandez had a number of opportunities tonight where there was some pivotal moments with runners in scoring position, including the bases loaded and 2 outs. And Teoscar just wildly was swinging at pitches out of the zone. Cease completely fooled him with that slider. There was another opportunity as well where Teoscar just wasn't able to get the job done. He's been in a rough funk, and I kind of want to save some more Teoscar talk in its own segment in a little bit. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Hit that like button, and we'll get some questions along the way. Craig Osterberg making a good point. Why sit Will Smith? He has Thursday off. Should have played tonight and then have the 2 days off. Well, ultimately, it looks like the Dodgers may have made the right decision with benching Will Smith tonight because it would have been a waste. The Dodgers offense was lifeless, and I don't think Will Smith would have made a difference. I know Dalton Rushing has really struggled, especially with the bat as of late. But at the end of the day, he is a rookie catcher, and he is still an upgrade over Austin Barnes because he does have the ability to throw base runners out. It's going to be a tough learning curve for Dalton, especially given that he's only going to start maybe twice a week. But that's just how it goes, and we have to live with that.
I agree. And Rushing needs to get those starts. I mean, if you're going to be critical of his bat, I mean, how is he supposed to hit if he's not starting every day? This is the issue sometimes with calling up these young guys and putting them in backup roles. And I understand it's a unique situation because he's also a catcher. This is why when you bring up the Pajeses or the Miguel Vargases or the James Outman, yes, these guys have to produce. I'm not trying to get them off the hook by any means. However, there also needs to be a situation where these guys play every day in order to get themselves out of these funks. One of the reasons why, and I know everyone wants to talk smack about Barnes or Chris Taylor, one of the reasons why these guys were struggling at times was they weren't getting that many starts. Now, was it the chicken or the egg? Was it the lack of production that caused the lack of starts? Maybe, but it doesn't get better by sitting more. That's the issue. And I think Rushing right now, the league has adjusted to him because there's more tape on him now, Kev, and he has not made the adjustments to the adjustments. And that's a common flaw for any of these young players that get called up from AAA.
No doubt about it. My last thoughts on Matt Sauer and honestly, this game as a whole, I think that's the last time we're going to see Matt Sauer for a little bit. They clearly had no sympathy for keeping that arm protected. They made him throw 111 pitches. So like you were saying, that is the Brent Honeywell award to a T right there.
Well done, Matt.
Thank you for your services, Sauer. Enjoy AAA. I think the inevitable DFA could be coming for Mr. Sauer. Yeah. I don't know if Sauer was any better than Jose Urania. I had my pitchers mixed up. I don't know if Sauer is any better than Jose Urania, but at this point, it's all hindsight. I think we've seen the possible worst from Matt Sauer. I don't think it can get any worse than that performance tonight. That was very Michael Grove-like, and honestly, they should never, ever, ever pitch Matt Sauer against the San Diego Padres again because that was a pure punt. I'm disgusted. I'm ready to move on. But again, it's frustrating that we're punting a game on June 10th because we don't have enough arms. And we're going to talk about the issue with the arms. Tony Gonsolin, Tyler Glass now. It goes on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you know what? Sauer, thank you for your service. I think you said it best. Everyone else got a night off tonight. And by the way, shout out to Lou Trevino. This guy is this year's Ryan Brazier, Chris Martin, Anthony Bonda. He's been tremendous. Joe Kelly on the second stint. He looked pretty good for the Dodgers when they traded for him from the Chicago White Sox. And then of course he became Joe Kelly again. But what was so great about him tonight, he picked off Fernando Tatis and threw a scoreless inning. That was a critical start because at the time it's like, oh crap, here we go. We're going to spot the Padres an early run yet again. And he picked off Tatis. That was a big momentum shifter early on in that game. And so far he's been solid. Yeah, he's given up some runs, but overall I really like what I've seen from Lou Trevino, and tonight was no different. I thought he got them off to a good start.
I agree. I think he's here to sit. He's here to stay. I don't think he's coming off the roster anytime soon. And if he stays healthy, I think he will be on this Dodgers in the bullpen in the postseason, barring some meltdown. But he's looked really good out there. I love what I see from Lou Trevino. Definitely a great reclamation project and has been reminding me of Ryan Brazier. I want to talk about a game that actually was exciting. That was last night. The Dodgers defeat the San Diego Padres 8-7. It took 10 innings, but it was thrilling fashion. The Dodgers jump out to a 2-0 lead. Then the Padres tie it 2-2. At a certain point, the Dodgers are up 5-3. We get into the later innings. It goes to extras. So let's dive into some of this right now. First off, Dustin May gave up 6 runs, 5 of them being earned, only had 1 strikeout. What do you make of Dustin May?
I thought he was actually trending in the right direction. It was a bad start. I think he was due for one. He hadn't had one in a while there, Kev. And I really like the fact that not only has May been back, but the fact that he has not really missed many starts. The arm seems to be good, but you're going to have these kind of moments like this. And when his stuff misses and he's starting to fall behind guys and get behind on guys, what hurt him last night was the fact that there was loud contact on him early in that game. And I think that rattled him a little bit. Yeah. And it didn't get much better. But I thought once again, and we've seen this a few times from Dustin May, where he gets out to a bad start, but he closes out the game well. The issue with May right now that really concerns me, and this was a similar problem that I remember that Julio Urias went through, the first inning, if you're going to get to an Urias, or I guess now in this case, Dustin May, there's been too much going on in the first inning. That is a problem for me. You do not want to keep putting your team in a position where they have to come back, even if it's a 1-0 game, right? Where you only give up 1 run in the first inning. That is unacceptable to me. He was spotted 2 runs in the early going. You've got to find a way to throw a 0. I get it. Padres, their top 3, top 4 is tough. Tatis, Arise, Machado, and then who got to clean up? Oh, Jackson Merrill. Yeah. So, I mean, that is a tough quartet. People want to talk about Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, and Teoscar. Padres, that may be the second or third best in the league behind the New York Mets, or even if you want to go the Yankees route, but certainly in the National League, they're one of the best. So that's been my issue with Dustin May. That being said, it was a rough start, but I thought it ended on a high note. He still got them through 5 innings, set the stage for the bullpen to not have to work extra innings, knowing it was going to be a bullpen game tonight. And he threw zeros in the 4th and 5th inning. And had it not been, I know you want to get to Teoscar, but I'm going to set you up on this one. Had it not been for Teoscar trying to make a heroic play for some reason, maybe the damage would have even been minimized even more. Instead of 5 or 6 runs, maybe it's 3 or 4. You know what I'm saying? So overall, not a great performance, but it wasn't god awful either. It was just not good, is what I'll say. So,
yeah, no, I think the biggest turning point in that game that obviously hurt May's box score has to be that play involving Teoscar Hernandez. Now, the catch probability implied that it was basically a 50-50 ball. 50% of the time you make that catch, 50% of the time you don't make that catch. Well, if you look at who else is on the Dodgers roster in terms of potential right fielders, Andy Pages. I know Mookie Betts isn't an option, but Mookie Betts, if he was in right field, maybe Kike Hernandez. I'm going to say the Dodgers had better odds than 50% to make that catch. But unfortunately, it was Teoscar Hernandez out there in right field. And I'm going to be honest, Chris, I just don't get the decision to start Teoscar Hernandez in right field at this point, especially when you've got a guy like Andy Pages who's excelled in not only center field, but in right field. When he's playing in right field, all the metrics suggest he is an elite, top, upper echelon, top 3 defensive right fielder in Major League Baseball. And you're absolutely wasting his talent and potential when you throw him in left field and you've got like a guy like Teoscar Hernandez, who is a proven liability out there in right field. You look at his baseball savant page, he's ranked a 2 out of 100 in terms of runs saved efficiency. Outs above average. He's also a -6 and -7. He has been god-awful in right field. And when you have the bat, you can live with it. But right now, we don't have the bat or the defense from Teoscar Hernandez. So it's definitely stinging a little bit. And I feel like there's been some plays, including tonight, where a ball's hit his way. And I don't know if he's gimpy, has some hamstring issues, but it just feels like he's jogging out there. There's no hustle.
Yeah, and I obviously I love Teoscar. The fans love Teoscar. We don't win that World Series last year, or the Dodgers don't win that World Series without Teoscar. He's been absolutely tremendous, and when he's been locked in and good, he's been productive. I got to imagine still, Kev, he's one of the league leaders, or at least one of the National League leaders in RBIs. It just hasn't been consistent, and ever since that second stint with the hamstring injury, it's been tougher for him to get going. Tommy Edman was also having some similar issues at the plate, and now he's starting to kind of look like Tommy Edman again, at least a little bit more consistent. So I think Teoscar is going to be fine, but I agree with you, and this is the Conforto effect over here. The fact that they're putting Michael Conforto out there and left every day means that only Teoscar can play right. So until you figure out this situation where either you address center field and say, Andy, you're doing a solid job at center, but we decided to upgrade at that position. So we're going to put Andy in right, Teoscar back in left, which is where he made the majority of his starts last season, which coming into the season, I couldn't understand for the life of me. Conforto, a career right fielder, we're going to stick Conforto in left and put Teo in right. It just made no sense to me. You know what I mean? I think you're starting to see the side effect of that now. So I don't want to push too hard too fast. However, I will say this. Go out and get a center fielder, or go out and get another corner outfielder and get rid of Michael Conforto. That is really the only way you can fix this right now.
I don't think they need a starting outfielder, but I'll tell you why in a second. In terms of Teoscar, I just don't get the logic here with the Dodgers. They won a World Series with him playing left field, so why not stick with the formula that works? It reminds me of the Lakers after they won the championship. Pelinka kind of went a completely different direction than the formula that worked, and we're seeing that now with the Dodgers. Now, credit to Mookie Betts. He's really turned it on. He's a great defensive shortstop, but the rest of some of this alignment is driving me absolutely nuts. And with Teoscar's bat, he was hitting 290 for a while. Then he got hurt. His batting average has fallen to 262 now. The on base of 290. We got to get that on base above 300. I'm sorry. And then an OPS of 771. It's weird to see an OPS that low for Teoscar Hernandez. It's usually hovering in the low to mid 800s. He's in a 2 for 26 slump. That's an 077 batting average. No home runs over his last 15 games. So he's in a big funk. But what I love about a guy like Teoscar, he will break out of it.
Sure. And this is what and you know, Kev, this is not unnormal to see from the Dodgers. It's compounded by the injuries to the pitching staff. But as far as the offense goes, what we've seen over the last week, and they broke out of it Sunday against St. Louis. They broke out of it last night. The June swoon. That has been very common for the Dodgers in recent years. And I think that's what we're seeing as well. And you know what? There are internal options. Somebody just said, why not call up Ryan Ward? That's an option. Or just give Hyeseong Kim more starts in center. Move Pages over to right, and then just put Teoscar in left and keep Conforto's useless ass on the bench.
That's exactly where I was going to get at right now. It absolutely is infuriating me the way the Dodgers are treating Hyeseong Kim right now. He's their hottest hitter, and yet they're trying to cool him off by not giving him consistent starts. I mean, what more does the guy have to do? He is a front runner for Rookie of the Year. There's no question about it. He's still hitting above 400. He's had 62 at-bats. He's batting 403. He's got 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, 6 stolen bases. I know people love their stolen bases.
And his clutch, too, by the way.
He's clutch. He has an OPS over 1,000. He had that big triple the other night to help start a rally for the Dodgers. And he's 3 for 3 against left-handed pitching. So all these narratives that he can't hit lefties, well, so far that's all Kim has done in the major leagues. And if I'm the Dodgers, you need to either have Edman or Kim in center field. You put Pages in right field, and you have Teoscar in left, and Conforto can sit on the bench because his ass has been useless. I am officially done with Michael Conforto. I am making that claim right now. The Dodgers need to bench his ass.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's not like they haven't been giving him chances. I mean, he's making the majority of those starts. And you know, I mean, look, I hate saying useless or he's garbage or anything like that. He's obviously out there trying, you know, and certainly there's probably no one more disappointed in his season than Michael Conforto. Yes, it is a soft landing when you're making $17 million. However, there's a sense of professional pride. You were brought in to help this team, not just, ride the coattails of a defending champion. So I understand all of that, but I think if this continues, I mean, you got about another 6 weeks before the MLB trade deadline, 6-7 weeks, give or take. You've got to work this out at this point. However, I just think there's between Kim, you mentioned Edman, switching Pages and Teoscar Hernandez, hell, even giving Kike a few more starts, at least you're going to get some good production defensively and some clutch hitting as well from Kike. Or why not even, this name wasn't brought up by anyone in the chat either, Esteury Ruiz, a former Oakland A's outfielder who's been down in AAA, and we know he's got speed and a little bit of pop. He can get on base and wreak havoc on the base pad. So may not be a power hitter, but more speed. Why not? And you imagine him with Hyeseong Kim and Tommy Edman at the bottom of the order, guys capable of getting on base to set the table for Shohei and Mookie Betts at the top of the order. So I think that's another option as well.
It seemed like the Dodgers were flirting with that because he was on the taxi squad the other day. So if there was an injury, it sounded like Ruiz was going to be the first guy up. So it does seem like he's on their short list of emergency options. But Javier T, what do we do with Michael Conforto? We got to reduce his playing time, and he has to earn his way back because 173 batting average here on June 10th, that's unacceptable. I've seen enough of Michael Conforto. He's not even making really it up for the defense either. More Kim. I mean, he's their hottest hitter. He's got a WRC plus of, I think it just fell a little bit, but just entering today, a WRC plus of 193. Defensively at second base, he's elite. He has a 2 defensive run saved at second base. The guy is a catalyst. He's been a spark plug at the bottom of the order. He gets on base for Shohei Ohtani. And it's not a coincidence that when he was in the lineup yesterday, the Dodgers dropped 8 runs, and that was enough to take down the San Diego Padres. Not in the lineup today. The Dodgers offense, a no-show.
All good points. By the way, I want to get to a comment from YouTube from Dennis Gonzalez, and it was directed at me. Camello, can we get? I just like how I'm Camello to everybody. It's like I'm back in middle school again. Camello, can we get Lars Nootbaar? So Lars Nootbaar, for those that don't know, St. Louis Cardinals left fielder, I believe, leadoff man for the Cards, and former USC Trojan. Fight on. So this would obviously be virtually a homecoming. I would love Lars Nootbaar. I think Nootbaar would be great. Here's the problem. I don't know where St. Louis is going. Not even their team president, John Mozeliak, knows where they're going. They could be sellers. They could be buyers. They're kind of in that weird mix right now where I don't think, Kev, that they're going to contend for the NL Central crown, but they may not be offing a lot of their talent like everyone thought they might coming into the season. So if he's available, certainly call Mozeliak and see if you can make a deal. However, I just don't know if they're at that point yet with anybody, with Arenado, with Sonny Gray, with any of those guys that might be available. Burleson, Donovan.
I'm all for Nootbaar. My problem right now is trying to figure out, do the Dodgers need to go the direction of acquiring a bat that would be a starter? Or do they just need to focus on a bench bat? Because honestly, I just want Kim in the lineup. And then you look at everyone else who's currently playing. You don't really need to bench anyone else. You don't need to replace anyone else. You got Kike Hernandez, great bench player. You've got your backup catcher. And then you figure it out with, obviously, if Conforto's there, he's now a bench bat. Or you try to replace Conforto altogether. The one guy that they will have to get off the roster, and Jake ripped him hard last week, Miguel Rojas. But we don't need to go back on that Miguel Rojas hate train today, unless you want to keep it very brief.
No. I've got a soft spot in my heart for Miggy Rowe. And once again, guys, it's not always, and I know that the chat doesn't want to hear this, and I'm not trying to, insult anybody. It's not always what guys bring on the field. It's also behind the scenes. It's the leadership. It's the tutelage of Mookie Betts at shortstop. It's the professionalism. It's the hard work. It's the young guys leaning on these vets because they've been there. If anyone's career has gone up and down with injuries and getting traded and everything, it's Miguel Rojas. So I do think there is that element. And at $5 million this season, it doesn't hurt to keep this guy on there because once again, if you're going to call up these young guys, These young guys are not made to be bench players. You have to realize that too. You have to play these guys.
Perfect. Yeah. No, appreciate the chat going off. If you got good questions for us, drop them below. We'll continue to tackle your guys' questions. We always love the participation, and hit that like button and subscribe too if you're not a subscriber. So thank you guys so much for giving us some love tonight. Let's go on the flip side. So Nick Pivetta had been throwing the ball pretty well for the Padres. I believe entering that game, he had an ERA around 3.2. The Dodgers had his number last night, ended up knocking him out after 4 innings.
Yeah.
5 runs off him, 8 hits, 3 strikeouts, which is, I like to see that they weren't striking out. So I love that they were able to pound Nick Pivetta. And then going back to the Dodgers pitching, it's worth noting that the Dodgers bullpen, they had to squeeze out 5 innings, but they didn't give up an earned run. Anthony Bonda has looked a lot better. He got 6 outs last night. His ERA has now fallen in a good direction. It's down to 3.82.
I got a quick stat. 2.25 ERA over his last 12 outings per Blake Harris. You know what, Kev? You're not the only one who could drop stats around here.
He looked really good. Thank you, Chris. Alex Vesia had a clean inning, and then Kirby Yates in some high leverage picked up the win. Kirby Yates already has 4 wins for the Dodgers. Did not expect that, but it's good to see him coming off the aisle and looking looking pretty sharp in his most recent outings. And then Tanner Scott, continuing in a positive direction, picked up the save. So the Dodgers bullpen did their job. They had been keeping the Padres in check dating back to the postseason, but after tonight, you can throw that out the window thanks to Matt Sauer. But yeah, last night was a good win. Dodgers offense, very productive. Freddie Freeman, monster night, had 3 hits.
Will Smith 2-run home run. Yeah.
Yep, the Will Smith home run off Pivetta, that was clutch. Andy Paez driving in a run. Tommy Edman driving in a run. Hyeseong Kim driving in a run. It was a good night for the Dodgers offense.
It was, and I want to say next to that Arizona game where they had the lead, lost the lead, and then won it late against their bullpen. Last night might have been low key one of the better team wins of the season because you had everyone really get in on the action. And as much as people are going to talk about what Paez and Edman did in extra innings, or you talked about Freddie or Will Smith, all those guys deserve it. The bullpen was outstanding last night. 1 hit, guys. 1 hit over 5 innings. And yes, the 1 hit did drive in a run, the ghost runner and everything like that. But I thought Tanner Scott came in a big spot, and that is huge for the confidence. And the one thing I like about Tanner Scott, Kev, and I know I'm derailing a little bit, but I want you to answer this question and just see if you agree. Do you think that the temperament that he has allows him to get through positive and negative stretches without really, chipping away at his confidence? Because whether he's struggling or whether he's doing well, he kind of always stays here. And I think that's so important for a major league pitcher, especially a reliever.
Just based off what I know about Tanner Scott through the duration of his career and so far in Dodger Blue, he's the type of reliever that has a short-term memory. And I think that's exactly what you want out of your closer. You don't think about the negative outings and carry that over into what's moving forward. I feel like Kenley Jansen, through the duration of his career, was another guy that had a pretty short-term memory, and that's why he's on his track of being a Hall of Fame closer. Yeah. Craig Kimbrell, leading up to the Dodger Blue, borderline Hall of Famer, one of the great closers. But when he was wearing a Dodgers uniform, you could tell every bad outing was getting to him, and it was a compounding effect, which eventually led to Craig Kimbrell being left off the postseason roster altogether. I have a lot of faith in Tanner Scott because it looks like he's sticking to a game plan. He's not trying to overthrow or change it up too much. The Dodgers continue to work with him to hit his spots, and I think with time, Tanner Scott's going to get into this nice long stretch where it's Eric Gagne-like, where he's just pretty much unhittable. And no better timing than in the second half leading into the postseason for Tanner Scott to find his groove. So I'm good with what's going on right now.
I agree. And I think sometimes, those smackdowns are the only way. Like he even said, there was clearly something mechanical, but I was getting out, so I didn't worry about it too much. So that's the thing. It's like saying we're winning games, but we have these problems, but we're not fixing them because we're winning games. No, you fix that. You have to fix it, even if you're winning. But it takes losses. It takes, failing to all of a sudden realize, oh, there's a hole in my swing. Oh, there's a problem with my mechanics. I'm overthrowing. I'm not stepping hard enough. I'm not doing this. The arm slot is wrong. It takes getting your ass kicked sometimes to realize, okay, I got to learn how to fight back over here. I got to learn how to fix these issues. Otherwise, it's just going to keep on happening. Anyways, let's get to this question from David.
We'll get to the question in a second, but just to close out on Tanner Scott, that strikeout to Manny Machado, I know it was a little controversial. It was borderline. The ball, I think, just had a little hair in the strike zone. But I got to say, Machado's having a good series. I think he's got 6 RBIs. But that ump cam, I need to see more of that umpire cam because
that's cool.
That was awesome. I love seeing Manny Machado have his little crybaby meltdowns when it doesn't go his way against the Dodgers. So throw out another one in the highlight reel. Love Manny Machado crying. He's just been getting his ass kicked by the Dodgers for years.
Yeah, no, for sure. That was pretty cool. And actually that got more traction on social media than the actual strike itself from Tanner Scott. And that was huge right there. So, hey, you know what? The Dodgers have been on the other end of that for a long time as well, where, guys have gone down looking either a check swing that was a no swing, but then got called a swing, or a pitch that was down and away and it was on a strike 3 call. So look, it's going to happen to all of these teams, Dodgers included. So, that was a huge out yesterday otherwise he gets on base, Jackson Merrill does his thing, and now all of a sudden, who knows, maybe it's a tie game.
Yeah. So David Tran, will Dodgers acquire any pitcher? Trade? This is grammar isn't great here. Let's try this again. Will the Dodgers acquire any pitcher via a trade?
Yes.
And who would be the target? You got any thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, there's a few right now. I'm keeping an eye on the Angels. Tyler Anderson, our old pal, a 2022 All-Star with the Dodgers. You could say that the Dodgers were key for him getting that 3-year, $39 million deal. He hasn't been as sharp this season as he was last year, but definitely serviceable, an innings eater. So if you want to go the back end route, banking on the fact that Ohtani, Glasnow, Snell, Yamamoto are all going to stay healthy for the stretch run, this would be a guy I would say go out and get for that stretch run. So that is an option. For now, that's probably one of the better ones that I have, because I just don't know who else is going to be available. Like I said, another guy I like is Sonny Gray, but is he going to be available? Are the Cardinals going to make him available?
Too expensive. This might be a hot take and upsetting for Dodger fans, but I don't think the Dodgers are going to acquire any starting pitching right now, unless there's some more injuries, which we don't want. But this is kind of tying into the updates. So Blake Snell, he's starting to throw. That is a great sign. Blake Snell appears to be on his way back for the Dodgers. Emmett Sheehan has been having some really good rehab outings down in Oklahoma City. The latest update with Emmett Sheehan, it sounds like they're going to try to have him throw 4 innings. And after that 4-inning outing, they may say that's enough to call him up for the majors after one more rehab outing. Then you've got Shohei Ohtani. Well, the latest with Shohei Ohtani, it appears to be that they might work him back now as an opener. I don't really know how I feel about Shohei Ohtani being an opener for the Dodgers. That doesn't really seem very optimal for bullpen usage, but right now they're targeting around, I think, around after the All-Star break. I'm more in the camp of I'll believe it when I see it, because I really think they're trying to slow play this whole Shohei Ohtani thing, because they don't want to affect his bat offensively and they don't want to risk another injury. So I think they're going to be very cautious when it comes to Shohei Ohtani. And then Tyler Glasnow, who the hell knows when he's going to come back. He's going to throw again apparently, but the last time he threw, his whole body got sore. And I feel like I'm missing one more arm. But
Roki Sasaki, do you have an update on him?
So Roki, another guy, they're slow playing, but it sounds like he's starting to work his way back. So, that's a lot of starters. If you've got a rotation of Snell, maybe Ohtani, Yamamoto, Kershaw's in there. Glasnow, Sheehan, and then
assuming Gonsolin comes back, by July or, by August or something like that. Not to mention the relievers, guys. Don't forget, we still don't have any news on Blake Trinan or Brusdar Gratterall. Hopefully those guys get back into the fold at some point. We still got to see Michael Kopech. I know he had a scoreless outing on Sunday against St. Louis. You got to see him start to, get some innings behind him and start getting ramped up and whatnot. So I think that's the route they may end up going as well, is relievers. And I'm just not sure what that market's going to look like. Maybe Kyle Finnegan, my old pal, the guy that I always say, you're linked to every year.
I was setting it up for you, Chris. I had a prediction. I think the Dodgers are going to trade for one reliever and one bench bat at the deadline. And I have Kyle Finnegan at the top of the board of most realistic options right now.
Yeah, no, I think it's up there, but I mean, there's going to be a lot of teams that could be in on some of these guys. And, with the expanded playoff format now, and if teams are close, the market may not look as prevalent as we think. So it's just one of those things that it may take, we're in this weird time. We're in the second week of June. Like I said, another 5-6 weeks away, 7 weeks, whatever it is, between now and July 31st. More teams could come out of it, and more teams could all of a sudden go on a run and put themselves in position for a wild card spot. So we just don't know.
While we're talking about starting pitchers, I got to throw his name out there and just say, Tony Gonsolin, I'm officially done with him. I think the Dodgers should cut ties with him altogether in Dodger blue. He's been awful this season. He's a 5 ERA, a 6 FIP, going back on the IL after just 7 starts, 36 innings total, and now his elbow hurts again, and he's giving up way too many home runs. He's already given up 9 home runs in 36 innings. That's a home run every 4 innings. I think Tony Gonsolin, we've seen the last of him. I would not be shocked if they dump him at the deadline for either some cash considerations or a very low single-A prospect. I think they want him off this roster. I think we've seen the end of Tony Gonsolin. He's just not good.
First of all, the guy didn't pitch for a whole year. Think about that. He went down in, what was it? It was in August of 2023, if I recall. Had Tommy John then. Did not pitch at all last year. Did not start coming back, I think, and then he had an injury in the spring, so he didn't come back until what? Till May of this. I think he made his first.
Yeah, he's hurt.
Early May. Okay, he had Tommy John, bro. Tommy John.
Then he
okay.
This year.
I understand he's not a fireballer, but I mean, when you miss nearly 2 full calendar years, or like 18 months, it takes time to come back. So I understand your frustration, especially since he kind of came out of the gate and he looked pretty good early on against those Miami teams. So maybe that was a false positive, because it was Miami. It was fool's gold. I hear you. The thing about Gonsolin, same thing with May, is the early runs that he's giving up. And then eventually he's been settling in to where the starts feel a little bit more respectable. But yes, the numbers are not impressive. But this sometimes when these guys are coming off these very serious injuries, and this could happen to Ohtani as well, where you go so long without pitching. We saw this with Walker Buehler. Guys are going to struggle. That's just the nature of it, where they need a year to kind of get themselves back on some sort of track where they start feeling like themselves again.
The issue with Gonsolin is, even before the Tommy John, he was never healthy. In 2021, he had a number of nagging injuries. He had a bad season. In 2022, he was an all-star, but then he had the forearm tightness in August, and he wasn't the same pitcher since. And then all of 2023, whether he was pitching the entire time with a torn UCL or not, he was also bad in 2023. And yeah, he got the Tommy John, but I just am not seeing it with Gonsolin. I don't think there's enough time to just really wait this out anymore.
All right. Well, I mean, look, agree to disagree. I think does he have another year of arbitration, or is he going to be
next year is his last season?
So I think they may play that out. Wouldn't surprise me if they non-tender him, but I think given the fact that, especially if this injury is not super serious where it requires more surgery, I think that they're going to bring him back maybe for less money. I think this year he's making $5.4 million. They may bring him back for right around the same amount, depending on how his season finishes. And then if nothing happens at that point, oh, well, then you cut ties.
IV, with tomorrow being another scheduled loss, harsh. How hard does Robleski get slapped tomorrow? Oh, man. That's some harsh love right there.
It is. I mean, I honestly thought he pitched fairly well. I mean, against St. Louis.
I agree with you.
But I don't know if he gets – I mean, listen, San Diego is obviously a much better offense than St. Louis, and of course it's on the road, so it's not going to be in the comfy confines of Chavez Ravine. I think if he could do something similar, 5 to 6 innings, 4 runs or less, similar to what he did in St. Louis, that is a win. You know what I mean? But once again, for these guys, for all of these young pitchers, it's getting through those first 2 innings unscathed. That's the key. When you've seen the worst starts this season from these young guys, Kev, they all get hammered early. Sauer tonight. Sauer did okay that second inning, right, when he first came in. And then in the third, the wheels came undone, and then that was it. These guys have to be able to get through these first couple of innings just for their confidence in order to have a respectable start. But these young pitchers also need run support. That's going to be the difference in this game tomorrow. If he can get some early run support, I really think that helps. But 6 innings, 5 or 6 innings, 4 runs or less, maybe 5 runs. I could live with that.
Yeah, and that's the thing for the Padres. You mentioned Vasquez. He's been no fireballer as well, so the Dodgers should put some runs on him. Surprisingly, the Padres are not that good of a team right now against left-handed pitching. I was surprised to see they have a 661 team OPS versus left-handed throwers. And I think Robleski is actually better than the stats indicate. I think with more time and more seasoning, Robleski is going to turn into probably a back end, but a solid back end starter if the Dodgers continue to give him the opportunities. I was impressed overall with his start at the Cardinals. He was topping out at 100 miles per hour. I didn't even know Justin Robleski was capable of throwing 100 miles per hour. But anytime you have a lefty starter that can throw 100 miles per hour, you've got my attention. And he had some interesting range because some of his fastballs were like 93 miles per hour, and then he was topping out at 99, 100 miles per hour. So there's a little bit of skewball inside Robleski. So I like that. Of course, the Padres have some good right-handed bats with Tatis, Machado, Bogarts, who isn't great, but he is right-handed, a World Series champion. So I'm not going to underestimate any of those guys. It's going to be a battle for Robleski without a doubt. I wouldn't call it a scheduled loss, though. I think the Dodgers are going to make this game close. I think tonight was the scheduled loss.
Yeah, for sure. And especially after they were getting no run support, those first 3-4 innings. And it was obvious Dylan Cease was on his A game, trying to make up for the 2, tough starts he had in last year's playoffs against LA. So yeah, he brought his A game, give credit where it's due. 11 Ks tonight. Dodgers looked lifeless out there, similar to what we saw those couple of games in St. Louis and one of the games against the Mets.
Trying to give everyone at least one question here. Eric Flores, is it fair to say this team isn't serious about winning until we see Kevin's lineup with Kim in and constipation on the bench? I mean, I don't think you can say it's fair to say the Dodgers aren't serious about winning. I think the Dodgers are absolutely serious about winning, but they gave constipation $17 million. They want to get the most out of their investment, and this is how baseball works, unfortunately. If a guy's not hitting, we're getting to that mark. We're getting to that mark though now where they're going to have to make a decision sooner rather than later when it comes to Michael Conforto, and I think that bench is coming for him.
Yeah, I think so too. At some point, I understand the runway, and I think the Dodgers kind of feel like we can afford to do that. And I think that go-ahead hit he had against the Mets in order to salvage the split, I think that bought him some time as well. But, like Wesley Snipes said in White Man Can't Jump, even the sun shines on a dog's ass some days. Anybody could win the lottery. Shout out to Ron Shelton's hit movie, White Man Can't Jump with Woody Harrelson. But yeah, I mean, I think we need to see more Kim. There's no reason why a guy that's hitting should not be in the lineup in some capacity. Never mind left, right. Throw those guys out there, see if he can get on board, and at the very least, use that speed to his advantage, and almost look like the second coming of Ichiro Suzuki at times, right?
Yeah, definitely. All right, I wanted to make sure we talked about Clayton Kershaw for a couple minutes. So that Cardinal series, the Dodgers did lose 2 of the 3 games at St. Louis, but there was one bright spot in that last game where the Dodgers did go on to defeat the St. Louis Cardinals. And you got to give a lot of credit to Clayton Kershaw, who he threw up easily his best start of the season. He went 5 innings, only allowed 1 run, didn't allow any home runs, and he had 7 strikeouts, which was blown past any of his starts for a season high. His previous season high was 3 strikeouts. He had 7 strikeouts. He kept the Cardinals off balance. He really looked like that later half career Kershaw, but he looked like a very competent starter out there, and he kept the Dodgers in this game. They ended up going on to win 7-3. If this is what we can see from Clayton Kershaw moving forward, then he's going to absolutely shut me up, and I won't have to complain about him.
Yeah, definitely his best start. I was at his first start. I was at that game. Shout out to my girl Carla, hooking it up with Baseline Club seats for the Dodgers-Angels game that Saturday night back in May when he got smacked around by the Halos. But since then, we've seen gradual progress from Clayton. I mean, look, I think he's at a point in his career, forgive the comparison, similar to where Jamie Moyer was. Granted, Jamie Moyer was like 39, 40, 41 years old, still pitching for the Phillies. However, if you recall, he was still a competitive starter. Why? Because he knew how to pitch with what he had left in that arm. He knew how to adjust his game. And I think Clayton has tried to learn that a little bit more, banking more on the slider, banking more on the curveball, and then occasionally sneaking in the fastball. And if you don't like the Jamie Moyer comparison, I got another one for you. His nickname was Dick Mountain, Rich Hill, same thing. I'm going to rely on my off speed, my breaking stuff. And then when you least expect it, when I got you 1-2, I'm going to try to sneak that 89, 90 mile an hour fastball past you when you don't expect it. So I think Kershaw's at that point right now. So, he doesn't need to give you 5 innings of 1-run ball and 7 Ks all the time. But if he can give you 5, 6 innings, 2, maybe 3 runs, 5 or 6 Ks, you'll take that. Just keep the walks down, keep the traffic on the base pads down, and we'll live with the results on that.
Yeah, and he was very sharp. He had control of his pitches. I think his called strikes plus whiff rate was 33, which is a very good metric, especially for someone like Kershaw, who was struggling to generate swings and misses earlier in the season. I do want to get into that Matt Adams stuff right now, because apparently it was reported during the game. They showed the Matt Adams home run off Clayton Kershaw multiple times in the game where Kershaw was starting. This happened in 2014, the NLDS Game 4. I think it was a 3-run home run.
Yep.
For context, I think the Dodgers had a 2-0 lead, and Adams hit that 3-run home run.
Seventh inning.
Seventh inning.
Yeah.
For the full picture, for those who are either younger or just couldn't remember. They asked Kershaw kind of his thoughts on that, and he said it was Bush League. But, other than that, I think he made the right comments. I don't think there is a reason for anyone to rip Kershaw or call him a crybaby or anything. It did seem like it's kind of embarrassing for the Cardinals. Go ahead, show it once. Sure, why not? That's fair. But when you show it multiple times, now it's kind of becoming sad because you don't really have any success to show for anything other than you have to go back to 2011, basically. I think that was their last World Series title now.
Sure. Yeah, and even that year in 2014, when they beat the Dodgers, they lost to the Giants in that series. Yeah. I think in the NLCS, and by the way, Travis Ishikawa pulled a Matt Adams on the Cardinals. So I remember that. Remember Travis Ishikawa? He hit that 2-run walk-off home run in one of the games, and I think they won that series in like 5 games. So, and I know Madrid has been busting chops about Tyler Glass now. Believe me, I got some opinions on that. But yeah, of course it's Bush League, man. That's what these teams are going to do. And maybe they see it as a little bit of playful ribbing because enough time has gone by. Kershaw is now a 2-time World Series champion. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's closing in on 3,000 strikeouts. So maybe it's their version of just doing like some playful ribbing. But yeah, do you need to play it multiple times? Probably not. Kershaw deserves more respect than that. But the Cardinals, I think in their minds, it's like, we will never give the Dodgers, or any of their players any sort of standing ovation or any sort of, flowers or anything. We're gonna dig in on some of their low moments because we kind of feel that we can. And like you were saying, Kev, what the hell else do we have to hold on to over the last 12 years? 15 years now. Shit. 2025, yeah.
It felt like the Cardinals were winning all the time, but now 15 years, 14 years, whatever.
Yeah. Only one LCS appearance in all that time. That was back in 2019.
Yeah, they're falling apart. So sorry, St. Louis. You got some cheap owners these days. You don't have that Albert Pujols.
Or three. I should say 3 LCS appearances, but no World Series appearances since 2011. So
I think they lost to Boston in 2013, but
that's right. I'm sorry. After 2013, yeah. So
we don't need to talk about Hanley Ramirez, but you just did, Chris. I know that was an accident, but
yeah. Sorry about
Madrid.
that.
Appreciate the questions, Madrid. Can you talk about Tyler Glasnow stealing money for 2 years, or are you guys paid off by the Dodgers too?
I wish I could quit my day job, Madrid. If that was the case, I'm sure Kev could too. Kev, why don't you lead this one off, man?
All right. So when the Dodgers initially made the Tyler Glasnow trade, I thought it was a good trade. And even up until he got hurt last season, he was on the All-Star team. I know he didn't pitch in the postseason, but I told myself he gave them a lot of innings in the regular season, and he was worth it overall. This season, though, I am completely flipping the switch. I am absolutely frustrated with what's going on with Tyler Glasnow. When you're getting paid $30-something million a year and you can't stay on the mound, that becomes a sunk cost at this point. And it's killing me to see guys like Dylan Cease go out there and continue to provide innings. And we've got a guy like Tyler Glasnow that can't stay healthy or on the mound. And it's forcing us to watch these AAA or scrub guys like Matt Sauer tonight because you don't have Tyler Glasnow available. And you see Ryan Pepio, who I actually always was big on. And for those that want to look in the archives, I did nothing but love Ryan Pepio while he was on the Dodgers. Ryan Pepio is having a pretty good season for the Tampa Bay Rays. He's already thrown 14 starts. He's got a 3.31 ERA. I would love a guy right now that's made 14 starts and has a 3.31 ERA. So it stings. This Tyler Glasnow situation stings, and honestly, the only way he can really make amends at this point is he's going to have to string together a good postseason.
Well, for sure. And I agree with you. At the time, it seemed like a good deal. Yeah, we liked Ryan Pepio, but look what you were getting. You were getting a battle-tested guy in Tyler Glasnow, someone who was an all-star, and someone who kind of felt like now that the injuries are behind him, we're going to probably see some of his better years in Dodger Blue, his prime years, and it just has not been there. The durability, there were two concerns I think most people had, but I'll tell you mine. One was the injuries. Is he going to be able to stay healthy? Because in addition to the Tommy John that he had, he also had oblique injuries. He had this injury, that injury, and then two, postseason issues. Thank you, BC. I was about to get to that. This is a guy that has not exactly been super sharp in the playoffs. How do we know that? Because we saw the Dodgers hit him hard twice in the 2020 World Series at Globe Life Park when they won that championship that year against Glasnow and Snell and the rest of the Tampa Bay Rays. So that was my concern. And furthermore, it's like, damn, off the cuff, not only did you trade for this guy, you gave him a 4-year deal. You're showing not only faith, you're showing a lot of faith that this guy is going to be not just a rental, but a pillar in this rotation for the coming years, along with Yamamoto, along with Ohtani, along with some of these other guys. And it has not worked out at all because, once again, it hasn't just been the elbow. It's been the hip. It's been the shoulder. It's been the body soreness. It's been, oh, there's mud on my cleats. Oh, there's this. Oh, I'm having issues with this. Oh, the dog ate my homework. What's the, to quote the great Antonio Tarver, what's the excuse tonight, Roy? That's what I would say to Tyler Glasnow. Very disappointing. Yes, he has stolen money, it feels like. However, if he's able to get back on the mound and look like the Tyler Glasnow that Kevin fell in love with in April and May of last year, all will be forgotten. That's how this works. We are in a what have you done for me lately sports fan society. Yep. And you are only as good as your last start, your last moment. Doesn't matter if you're bad and then become good or good and then become bad. We have seen it all, right? So I don't think you have any other choice but to see this process through, do the process, get him back on the mound healthy, and hopefully, if ramped up, he could start being productive again. Because I always thought too, and Kev, I want you to respond to this, even though he was out there getting a ring at the ring ceremony, I called that an empty championship ring for Tyler Glasnow and several others who got it. Why? Because they were not part of the team in October. And I thought there's nothing worse than getting a ring that you feel you didn't contribute to. And I thought, if nothing else, this could be a motivating factor for him this season. And I still believe that, because what else do we got at this point? Kev, am I reaching on that last point?
I agree with almost everything you've just said. I have a hard time agreeing with the empty ring comment. You'd have to ask him, though.
You're still on that.
Come on, because Tyler Glasnow was an all-star last season. It's not like he just rode the bench. He cared. Baseball is a tale of two halves. You still need to have a good first half to be in it in the second half. Otherwise, you end up a seller at the deadline. And Tyler Glasnow in the first half carried that Dodgers rotation. When Yoshinobu Yamamoto was kind of figuring it out, got hurt in early June, Glasnow was still out there. He was throwing 7 innings. Maybe they were pushing a little bit too hard, and that's why he got hurt. I wasn't really a fan of the usage of Tyler Glasnow. Maybe we put some blame on the Dodgers front office for overworking him and extending him a little too hard when he probably should have been going 5 innings instead of 7 to 8 innings. But yes, like you were saying, for Tyler Glasnow to be worth this contract in its entirety, give me just one good postseason run. If he dominates and shoves in one October, he's worth $150 million or whatever they're paying him in total. Just like Shohei Ohtani, because they won the World Series and Ohtani had some magnificent moments, whatever happens now to me is gravy. He's worth that $700 million because he did it in 2024. Same with Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He did it in 2024.
Yep.
I don't care what happens the rest of his career, because what he did in his first season in Dodger Blue, everything else is worth it to me. But for Tyler Glasnow, he's got to deliver in October to make that contract worth it. And I will say, we got to be fair with some of these pitchers and their postseason stats. Like, I'm not going to knock Tyler Glasnow for having some bad October numbers if it was the Dodgers that pummeled him, because let's be honest, the Dodgers in 2020 were an absolutely loaded lineup. Most pitchers couldn't handle doing well against us.
Agreed, but postseason numbers are postseason numbers. Let's not act like Tyler Glasnow was doing what guys like Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler have done, throughout their careers. That's all I was saying with that. It's the postseason numbers. Yeah, you're right. They could be inflated in a positive way, or they could be deflating because of the small sample size. Totally get that. And by the way, Dennis was saying, including Kershaw, Camello, yes and no. If you ask him, maybe it's a yes. To me, Kershaw has done so much for the organization. That's the one where maybe you can make an argument that he should have won it in earlier years, but he didn't because of the shortcomings of the team.
He should have had 2 regardless because of 2017.
True. Yeah, exactly. So anyways, I agree. He had a great start last year, but the empty feeling is when you're not in the trenches in October with your guys. That's where the empty ring comes in, because it's hard to quantify April and May and saying, yeah, I was part of a championship team when those games are lower leverage than any game in September and October. And I don't think I'm wrong on that.
It's fair. It's fair. Well, maybe Tyler Glasnow can pull a Roger Clemens of old and come back in the second half.
Yeah.
So, because that's what Clemens did near the end of his tenure. Did that for the Astros, I believe, in 2005.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, ask Yankee fans, was A-Rod worth it because of the 2009 playoff run where he was just a monster. Ask them if he was worth just that one championship. To me, I think 90% of them would say yes.
I got to ask them. That's a good question, because I know Yankee fans are kind of greedy. I don't know if they're happy with just one, to be honest. But last call for questions, and then I want to just cover some things real quick. The last thing I want to just throw out there, Bobby Miller. What the hell has happened to Bobby Miller? He started tonight again in AAA. He went 3 1/3 innings, gave up 11 hits. The most concerning part, though, 10 earned runs.
Oh my
God.
One
strikeout.
10?
You did not know this. Well, yeah, he gave up 10 runs tonight. He got lit up. His ERA on the season in the minors, 5.69. So,
who the heck was he facing? The 1929 Yankees, Murderers Row? Did he face Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig tonight? Did he face Bo Jackson and the 86 American League All-Stars with Ronald Reagan, Vince Scully in the booth? My God. 10 earned runs in AAA, Bobby? You ought to walk home from that shit. Damn, bro.
He's a lost cause, unfortunately. And I think that circling my entire point, you've got a guy healthy with quotes in Bobby Miller. He was their top pitching prospect, and they can't even use him at the major league level because he's been this bad. And they'd rather go with a guy like Matt Sauer, which was clearly not the right option either. It's frustrating that we don't have the depth right now to make up for some of these scrubs going out there.
You know what, Kev? I don't know if it was you or Jake that said he may have to reinvent himself as a reliever.
That's me. I am the OG. Okay. I'm the first Dodger fan to say that. I am taking all the credit.
I did. Okay. You're taking all the credit. Excuse me, sir. Hey, I'm just a squirrel in your world, player. I'm just trying to get it right. No, Bobby, I think may need to consider transitioning to that.
But not to a woman.
Okay. I didn't want to take it there. Yes. Transitioning from a starter to a reliever. I think, some guys do it out of necessity because of like Daniel Hudson, the multiple Tommy Johns and everything. And I mentioned that it may need to be the case for Dustin May at one point, but May is, at least looking more and more like a starter despite the rough start yesterday. I think in Miller's case, they're going to really have to do that. But either way, starter or reliever, this guy's got to get some command of his pitches down, because if you're nothing without your command, without your control, without your ability to throw the ball where you want it to go consistently. And if you're not able to do that at the minor league level, I don't know where else they can do that. And the what's worse, Kev, is that his trade value continues to go down too. So, I mean, how the hell do you even unload this guy at this point? Yep. You really have to fix him.
Yep. All right. Time to rapid fire questions. And then Chris, if there's anything else you want to cover in final segments, we're going to kick it all right now. Final home stretch right here. Ivy, if there's no Snell, Roki, or Glasnow in the starting rotation before the All-Star break, do you think they can still hold number one in the division?
Yeah. If they do, it'll be a very small lead, in my opinion.
I think yes, as long as they have the full offense, that offense can carry them enough to maintain first, or at least be very, very close until they get those reinforcements back. Moose 1032, hit the like button, guys. Don't forget to support the show. Thank you so much, Moose. Appreciate that. Let's see what else we've got. Got some Tyler Glasnow hate. No name. This is the best Dodger podcast because you guys are not on Guggenheim's payroll. Well, thank you.
I kind of wish we were, though. For the financial aspect, not for the content aspect.
We got the Kershaw thing. Gavin Stone over Tyler Glassarm. I mean,
I want to get to Aaron Sandoval's comment. There were quite a few people in that ring ceremony that felt more of an empty ring than Glasnow. Yeah, no, that's a good point. You could throw May, you could throw Gonsolin in there. Absolutely. I am just saying, from that perspective, that could sometimes be a motivating factor for a guy, even if they are sort of selfish about it. There is something about winning a ring and then saying, and by the way, if you don't believe me, listen to Matt Barnes on the All the Smoke podcast. Like, he still hasn't received his championship ring from, I think, the 2017 or 2018 Golden State Warriors, because he kind of felt like, I was just on the team. I didn't really contribute to the team. You know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, there are levels to this. I totally get it. But that's where I was going with it, Yeah. And also watch Woody Harrelson in Semi-Pro. He felt the same way about his championship ring before he got traded to the Flint Tropics.
I don't know why Woody reminded me of Jason Kidd in that movie, but he did. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Aaron. Appreciate that. Eric Flores, this is the Realist Podcast. Kevin is the GOAT. I don't know if I'm the GOAT, but I appreciate the love, Eric. If you guys love the show and you're not in our Discord, hit me up. Join that Dodgers Discord. I know I posted it earlier in this chat. We have a fun time chatting Dodgers and all that stuff. Another one, Dodger Blue. Klein is the GOAT. Thank you. Thank you so much, No Name. Appreciate the love. And yes, Dennis Gonzalez, I have made this comp as well. Eric Gagne is a great example of a starter changing to a reliever.
Yeah. That's another good one too. A little bit further out, but that's sometimes these guys have to, like, we're seeing it with Clay Holmes. He's doing a good job in New York, going from reliever to starter. So I mean, it just depends. Circumstances dictate it, but he has got to figure a lot of things out, whether he's a starter or a reliever. And I think that's the troubling thing. I just don't think it's a magic fix for Bobby. And it's sad because we saw, it doesn't feel like that long ago, 2 years ago, Kev, where he was potentially a contender for Rookie of the Year, or at least a finalist for the Dodgers. He was a stalwart in that rotation. And yeah, he got lit up in Arizona in that game too. But he just has not been the same after that. He had that one good start against St. Louis at the beginning of last year. And then he had a couple of subpar starts, the shoulder injury. And since then, it's just been finding Bobby,
Where's Bobby?
Where's Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, Michael Kopech is the other perfect example. Top-tier starter turned into a reliever. I was wrong about Bobby Miller. I thought it would be Bobby Miller versus Spencer Strider for years to come, and both of them are having a pretty rough go at it right now.
For sure.
Chris Camello, make sure to give him a follow. And Chris, I appreciate you joining me tonight. We had a really good conversation, some back and forth. Anything else you wanted to cover baseball-wise or on your mind that we forgot or you want to address?
No, it's a great show. Thank you again for having me. I know it's kind of a last minute thing, but I love last minute sometimes, especially when I'm able to do it and I have nothing planned and I don't have to say no to you. But no, this worked out great. Thank you again for having me on. Follow me at Chris_Camello on X, CCamello1 on Instagram. And I will have my own show, The Outlet Forum, that I co-host with Chaz Pearson, post Game 3 tomorrow night. So I go from the diamond to the hardwood, covering Game 3 of the finals, some NBA offseason talk, and then we got some special guests coming up in the next few weeks. So at The Outlet Forum, that's at The Outlet Forum. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and X. Kev, thanks again, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. That's all I got, guys. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or if you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment, hit that like button, and tap that subscribe. More subscribers, the better. But everyone have a great night. Go Dodgers, and thank you, chat, for having fun and hopping